I'm ready, Will.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order. I'd like to welcome you to the Business, Finance, and Justice Committee. Today is November 8th, 2021. The time is 6:30 p.m. I'd like to ask Representative Travis Scott for tonight's invocation, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Let us pray. Our Father in heaven, we thank you again, Lord, for this day that you've given us, Father. We come to you and ask for your love and mercy, Father, to continue to give us knowledge and guide us. And Father, just ask you to continue to pray for our citizens of this nation. And Father, just pray for our country. And Lord, we just thank you for everything you do for us. In Jesus' name, amen.
And Representative Travis Scott. Next item on the agenda, roll call. Legislative Clerk April Lindsay.
Patrick Freeman.
Here.
Robert Huff.
Present.
Adam Jones. Adam Jones.
Here.
William Lowe.
Here.
Travis Scott.
Here.
Chairman, you got 5 present and 0 absent.
With 5 members present, constitutes a quorum. Therefore, any business transacted will be valid. Next item on the agenda, approval of minutes from October 21, 2021. Committee, please review the minutes, and I will entertain a motion to approve.
Chairman, make a motion to approve with any adjustments, corrections.
Representative Robert Huff makes a motion to approve the minutes,
Second.
seconded by Representative Travis Scott. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Robert Huff.
Yes.
Adam Jones.
Yes.
Travis Scott.
Yes.
Patrick Freeman.
Yes.
Chairman, you got 4 in favor and 0 against.
4 in favor, 0 against. The minutes from October 21, 2021 pass. Order of business, TR 21-153, a tribal resolution of the Muskogee Creek Nation authorizing the principal chief to execute a memorandum of understanding between the Muskogee Creek Nation and the United States Attorney's Office for the Northern District of Oklahoma. Sponsor is Representative Robert Huff.
Motion to adopt.
Representative Robert Huff makes a motion for due pass,
Second.
seconded by Representative Travis Scott. Discussion.
Chairman, I give time for Chief or Kyle Haskins.
Yes, sir.
Hello, everyone, or good evening. I just wanted to address this first piece of legislation. Generally, these positions are called SASs, or Special Assistant United States Attorneys. It could be someone within the AG's office that gets that counter designation, or it could be someone in the U.S. Attorney's office. But this will be paid for by a grant, and it will, as I say, will not cost us anything, and it is something that will be very beneficial to the tribe. We have done this in the past with assistant AGs in other jurisdictions, and this is really a good thing, and it helps move everything along. It also helps one of our representatives to be involved in the prosecution in federal court under the Major Crimes Act.
Thank you, Kyle. Any discussion, questions from the committee? Questions, comments from the representatives online? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Robert Huff.
Yes.
Adam Jones.
Yes.
Travis Scott.
Yes.
Patrick Freeman.
Yes.
Chairman, you got 4 in favor and 0 against.
4 in favor, 0 against. TR 21-153 passes. TR 21-154, a tribal resolution of the Muskogee Creek Nation authorizing the principal chief to execute a memorandum of understanding between the Muskogee Creek Nation and the Executive Office for the United States Attorneys, the United States Attorney's Office
buddy.
of the Northern District
wash
of
off.
Oklahoma, and Assistant United States Attorney Michael F. Harder for the purpose of supporting the Department of Justice efforts to keep tribal communities safe. Sponsor is Representative Robert Huft.
Motion.
Representative Robert Huff makes a motion for due pass.
Second.
Seconded by Representative Travis Scott. Discussion.
Chairman, I'll give Kyle Heston some time, please.
Yes, sir, Kyle.
Much like the prior legislation, this is an Indian law fellow. This gentleman will be acting under a one-year grant. Again, it costs the nation nothing. Again, this is something to help us with caseloads. This is an individual who is one of a limited number of people around the country that receive these fellows. It's for a period of 1 year, whereas a SASA is for a period of 3 years, which was the prior legislation. And again, this is to help coordinate with the United States District Court for the Northern District of Oklahoma in prosecution of Indian crimes. Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle. Any questions, comments from the committee? Questions, comments from the council representatives online? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Robert Huff,
Yes.
Adam Jones, Adam Jones,
Yes.
Travis Scott,
Yes.
Patrick Freeman.
Yes.
Chairman, you got 4 in favor and 0 against.
4 in favor, 0 against. TR 21-154 passes. At this time, I would like to relinquish the chair to Representative Adam Jones.
Thank you, Chair. Trying to get it. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. It's TR 21-156, a tribal resolution, Muskogee Creek Nation, authorizing Principal Chief to execute a service agreement between the Muskogee Creek Nation and the Morris Police Department for the purpose of providing geosafe mobile services to the Morris Police Department. Sponsor Will Lowe.
Chairman, I make a motion for due pass.
Motion due pass by Representative Lowe. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Travis Scott. And discussion.
Thank you, Chair. Chief Hill, are you online, sir?
Yes, sir. I think Daniel's on the line.
All right.
Daniel,
Mr. Wynn? Are you
Yes,
on?
good. Yes, sir, I am. I'm also here with Chief Phillips, so I'll turn it over to Chief Phillips.
Thank you, Mr. Wynn. Chief Phillips, can you address this legislation? Chief Phillips?
Okay.
Yes. Can you hear me okay? Yes, sir.
Chief Phillips, are you on the line?
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Chief Phillips keeps getting muted.
I am. I am, sir. Can you hear me? Okay. So my apologies. Are you there?
Yes.
Hello?
We can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, I'm having issues with my laptop. Uh, uh, Back when I was still at Morris, we had a gentleman's agreement with Light Horse about the dispatching duties and whatnot. But we went over and talked to them about the GeoSafe that I told them that we are a part of now, which in a sense, we can locate our officers when we're out on calls. We can actually pinpoint where that officer is should they have to get out of their vehicles and maybe get in a foot pursuit or whatever. We can actually find our officer by pinging their phone through our GeoSafe. We can actually track them
Chief Phillips, we're only catching about every
with
other
a-
word.
Hey,
a live feed. Now,
hi, council.
Yes, Daniel,
I
we
said
can hear
Morris is
yours.
over
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay,
Over
I'm
there,
going to give my
uh,
phone over to Chief Phillips then. Mute yours.
okay, can you hear me now?
Yes,
Yeah.
can hear you clear.
Okay, my apologies. I'm having computer issues, I guess. Did you hear anything that I mentioned?
Yes, we just when he was at Morris from there on.
Okay. This is actually for the officers that are on duty over there. We can actually pinpoint that officer should they get involved in a foot pursuit or things of that nature. We can actually pinpoint them via live maps. They're able to run tags on their side if they need to through GeoSafe. But it's a this day and age, it's an officer safety issue.
Thank you, Chief Phillips.
Yes,
Is there
sir.
any other discussion? Okay, roll call vote.
William Lowe,
Yes.
Patrick Freeman,
Yes.
Robert Huff, Robert Huff, Travis Scott,
Yes.
Robert Huff,
Yes.
Chairman, you got 4 in favor and 0 against.
Thank you, April. 4 in favor, 0 against. That motion passes. Thank you for committee. Relinquish the chair back to Representative Lowe.
Representative Jones. Next item on the agenda, NCA 21-113. The law of the Muskogee Creek Nation, amending MCNCA Title 37, Chapter 3, Subchapter 10, entitled Sexual Harassment Prohibited. Sponsor is Thomasine Yehola Osborne. This legislation was postponed October 21, 2021.
Motion do pass.
Representative Robert Huff makes a motion for due pass.
Jones.
Jones, I'm sorry. Representative Adam Jones, third, makes a motion for due pass.
Chairman, is that
Yes.
a motion on the original bill or the substitute?
Have not seen the substitute, so it'd have to be the substitute.
Make a motion for due pass on the substitute.
That's correct.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Representative Travis Scott. Discussion.
Chairman,
Thank
this
you,
is Thomasine.
Yes, Representative Yehola Osborne. The floor is yours.
The last time this legislation was updated was in 2014. And of course, we're bringing this to the table again this month. And I just wanted to say, early in the process of this legislation, I was actually for penalizing an employee who was falsely accused of sexual harassment. But as our discussion evolved with Ms. Miranda Carmen and Ms. Melissa Cully, Ms. Sean Partridge, and Josh Janisic, just having that discussion as it evolved, it changed my mind basically about this whole thing is about protecting the victim and not discouraging an employee from reporting sexual harassment. So I do have these people that I mentioned. I believe they're on the line if anybody has any questions of them. Thank you, Chairman.
You're welcome. Employees, anything to add?
Chairman, this is Sean Partridge. If I may just have just a minute.
Yes, ma'am, please.
Thank you. I think it's important for the committee and for the council on the line to know that our group, we met, I believe, 4 times, and for each time a minimum of an hour. And so really going through this legislation. And in regards to, I think the question or concern that Representative Jones posed last month was regarding, we had stricken the portion of the legislation that, as Representative Yola Osborne mentioned, sought to seek punishment for people who were believed to have falsely accused someone. The challenge is, and I know that HR can speak to this more, the challenge is that oftentimes there may not be evidence to, that clearly indicates that someone has committed sexual harassment. Just because there's not evidence does not mean that sexual harassment did not occur. And so we know that sexual harassment, crimes of like sexual assault, that those kinds of things are some of the most underreported crimes and violations within a workplace. And so just with my experience in serving not only victims and survivors, but in helping to advocate for employees who are, coming forth to, report sexual harassment, this type of language, I think, further creates barriers and would, again, cause employees to, I think, just have additional concerns about reporting sexual harassment. So again, our group, we did meet, we did discuss this. We were all on the same page that we are wanting to create legislation that promotes best practice. And so we felt like removing that language was really critical. If for some reason there was an employee who was accused of sexual harassment, felt like they were being wrongly accused, there are mechanisms in place already through a grievance process in which they could address those concerns. So anyways, just wanted to add that. And again, the other members of the group may have additional input. Happy to answer any questions. Mado.
Super. Thank you. Any other discussion?
Chairman, this
Yes.
is Josh James.
Yes, sir.
How are you this evening, everybody?
Good, good.
To talk a little bit about what Ms. Partridge had mentioned, also within the current Muskogee Creek Nation HR policies and procedures, we do have the false accusations clause in there in case there is a false accusation. I know that was a concern during the last conversation of what are we going to do about false accusations. It individuals when those instances occur will be subject to disciplinary action under the policy. The policy that they're mentioning is the overarching policy of the nation of sexual harassment. So that portion is there as well to cover false accusations. Also, the concern that was brought up, or the question that was brought up, is obviously overseeing that investigation should they come forward and we proceed in that regard. Human Resources already oversees all of the employee disputes, harassment, sexual harassment, grievances, adverse employment. hearings. So it's a very natural transition for human resources to conduct these investigations and oversee any hearings related to sexual harassment, for the fact that we're already doing these things on a case-by-case basis. So we already have those mechanisms in place to move forward with hearings and investigations within human resources.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman,
Lord.
this is
Yeah.
Kyle Haskins. May I be heard very
Thank
briefly?
Yes,
you,
sir,
Chairman.
please. You're welcome.
Thank you. Sir, one of the things that, as far as the remedies that can be used is writing a written apology. And I did want to explain that, if an employee has committed an act at work that, we have laws against harassment, that's a misdemeanor. We have laws against stalking, that's a felony. We have laws against sending obscene pictures or images or videos, that is a felony. So if an individual is obligated to write a written apology, if they talk to an attorney about that issue, an attorney is going to tell them absolutely not, because if you write that letter is going to be used to prosecute you by the Attorney General's office. And I just wanted to point that out because it could well be if you view that as a least restrictive remedy, which is writing a letter of apology, and someone professes to the commission of a crime under our laws, they'll get prosecuted with their own handwriting. Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle. Any discussion from the committee? Discussion from council representatives online? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Adam Jones,
Yes.
Travis Scott,
Yes.
Patrick Freeman,
Yes.
Robert Huff, Robert Huff, Chairman, you got 3 in favor and 0 against.
3 in favor, 0 against. NCA 21-113 passes.
Chairman,
Yes.
I apologize. Representative Huff sent me a text, said he had to step off for a second. He has his grandson with him this evening. So he said he'll get back on here in just a few minutes.
I appreciate that, Representative Scott. Thank you. Next item on the agenda, NCA 21-123, a law of the Muskogee Creek Nation amending NCNCA Title 36, Chapter 3, entitled Motor Vehicle Tax and License Code. Sponsor is Representative Travis Scott.
Motion to do pass.
Representative Travis Scott makes a motion for due pass.
Robert Huff seconds.
Representative Robert Huff seconds. Discussion. Representative Scott.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to give the tax commissioner some time, please.
Yes, sir.
Good evening. This is Mary Muskogee, and I appreciate your time this evening, Chair. And I will briefly just update on some of the amendments that we're approaching the committee tonight to approve for Title 36. We have reviewed the Title 36, Chapter 3, and looking at it, there was a lot of amendments that needed to be done. Basically, a lot of it was just updating and getting current with current laws, adding handicap placards, black tags, junk vehicles. We wanted to eliminate having to come back to council every time that insurance liability amounts change. So we wanted to just put minimum liability in there. We wanted to add clan tags, designer tags to be able to offer to our citizens. And we also are looking to do some additional changes, and I am not sure. I want to refer to Mr. Morgan on the further discussion on the amendment for the outside of boundaries or the outside of the territory discussion? Lance?
Yes, I think there's been some discussion about whether or not to issue tags in a more expansive manner. And a lot of tribes currently do that. And the nation has been limited to a very specific definition of territory. And this change adds something called territorial jurisdiction. And it really just expands the notion of what area counts as eligible, and it coincides more with the McGritt case. And so it really is an expansion of the area that and the types of land and where the vehicles are, where you can license the vehicle. And it goes beyond that too. It also allows for off-reservation citizens to apply for the license. And there's been some discussion about what the risk factors is with that. And I think I think that's a legitimate concern, but other tribes are doing it and have been doing it for a very long time. And what the code does is it requires that they sign an acknowledgement that there's a potential liability issue there if they do go with the Creek Nation tags. I think that when you think about it, this is a very interesting dynamic. The nation has been pretty conservative in its definition of who's eligible for this, and this is a pretty major expansion of the definition of who is eligible to get these licenses. And I think what you have to think about is when we first were engaged to work with the nation, we talked about a strategy that involves sort of pushing the envelope a little bit, and this certainly qualifies within that. And I think the risk factors to the nation members, and if they're willing to accept that, then it's probably an acceptable use or an approach if you want to do that. What I tell people sometimes is, what happens if it really goes wrong? The worst case scenario is you just change it and go back. And I think that there's some concern about possible litigation. And if that happens and you lose, you can always go back into the box and do it the old way, I suppose. But this puts the state in a little bit of a catch-22. You've expanded your definition to include the reservation boundaries. And in order to fight, the state's going to have to acknowledge that you have a reservation. And that's something they don't want to do, and to make that distinction. And I don't know if Joe wants to add anything to that.
Joe?
Thank you, Mary. Chairman, members of the committee, good evening. So I've been working with Lance and Mary Muskogee on these amendments, and essentially, the citizens have been demanding and requesting that those who live outside the boundaries be able to register their vehicles with the nation and get a citizen car tag, just like everybody else on the reservation. And so what the tax commissioner decided to do was make these amendments happen. And so asked us to draft the language, so what's in there, like Lance said, we have a definition. We clarified the definition of territorial jurisdiction to include the reservation boundaries. And so anyone who resides off the reservation boundaries and applies for a tribal tag is eligible, assuming everything else qualifies. Their eligibility requirements are met. Assuming all that is met, and they still reside off the reservation, they may obtain a tribal tag, and will be declared a non-resident for administrative purposes. But the cost will be the same. There's no increase in cost if you're on resident, off resident. It's still the same costs. And the only I guess the risk would be for the nation is really zero risk. I mean, the nation is, under its constitution, has the authority to legislate and provide for its citizens without regards to reservation boundaries. There are some limitations on other things that the nation can legislate regarding governmental operations, but those are within reservation boundaries. But for citizens, I see nothing in the Constitution that limits the nation as far as legislating on something like this that provides for the well-being of citizens, regardless if you're on or off reservation. So we think we have the constitutional authority to enact this legislation. The citizens are wanting it. There will be an increase in the revenue base that the tax commission will have. And as far as any risk to citizens, we think that those will be relatively low because throughout Oklahoma, prior to the McGirt ruling and prior to the other tribes' reservation rulings, tribal members and tribal citizens were being issued car tags, and there was not really any state enforcement action to determine whether people who were on Oklahoma roads were living on or off Indian country. I think administratively, the Oklahoma Tax Commission probably would find that an administrative nightmare if they had to stop every tribal or anyone with a car tag, tribal car tag, and determine where they live on or off reservation. Now that we have the reservation rulings, the majority of eastern Oklahoma is Indian country. We have different tribes with their own Indian country, but as far as the state having a strong ability to enforce registration requirements on people who reside off of their own tribe's Indian country, we got to take into account that some of our citizens reside in other tribes' Indian country, and as far as the laws that they really would have to abide by would be those tribal laws. So and I think as a practical matter, the state doesn't go after individuals with car tags because there is this practice that once the vehicle is transferred to a non-member, that the deficient taxes or penalties would have to be paid for by that person who receives that vehicle and who's not a member. So I think in the end, the Oklahoma Tax Commission feels they're able to obtain the accrued taxes and penalties anyway against the non-member. So they're not really going after individual citizens or members. So I think legally and practically we're on good grounds. But this is something the citizens wanted, and it's something I think is permissible under our Constitution, and it increases the revenue base for the nation. So those are my thoughts, Chairman. Thank you.
But I had one more.
Appreciate it, Joe. Yes.
One more comment. Tribal sovereignty is a funny thing. You sort of have to exercise it. And if you look at the history of federal Indian law, I called the federal Indian law casebook our greatest hits of losses. And so, that's who you have to go back to and reference. And so there's not a lot of great answers there, but a lot of tribes are really good at sort of taking these practical approaches and stepping across the line a little bit and expanding their jurisdiction. Now, you have some rights to service your tribal citizens, that's for sure. That doesn't mean you won't be challenged or it won't be a controversy. But in this instance, even if you're challenged, it's going to be a very unique challenge from the state standpoint because it's hard to enforce. And they're going to have to say, well, these people are off your reservation, and they're claiming the reservation doesn't even exist. And so there could be some even positives to a sort of test case. My guess is the state will look at it and just ignore it and fight the larger issues that are going on right now. But you can never say that for sure.
This is Mary. I do want to jump in here real quick.
Quickly,
I know
please.
they're talking about the legal part of the legislation, but I want to actually let you know about the administrative side and what we see daily in the tax commission. We hear from citizens daily, and that is no exaggeration. Daily, we have citizens that come to us. We have letters that go to the council, to the chief, to myself, requesting and wanting a tag because they're proud to be citizens, and that has been throughout Oklahoma since the late 90s. For 2 decades, tribes have been issuing tags, and they began issuing tags statewide, I believe, in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, and there has never been one challenge from the state. You've been able to service all of your tribal members, tribal citizens throughout Oklahoma. There are only 3 tribes right now who have compacts, and that is Cherokee Nation, who they actually do issue their own tags. They do share revenue with the state. And then you have the Choctaw and Chickasaw, who have tag compacts, and they actually have just turned everything over to the state and let them issue the tags and take care of their tribal members themselves. So compacting to me just is not a solution. Of course, we know where we're at with the governor right now, and administratively we're prepared for it. We've been doing it. There's no reason to compact. We can issue our own tags. And you know, I've done a lot of research before we brought this to the council for your consideration. And we want to make sure that the decision was right. And I really do think it is the right decision. It's going to bring in, we did a soft projection of revenue. It could bring in around $4 million more a year just on tags. And that's a very soft projection. And being able to issue throughout the state of Oklahoma, I think it is just going to be a tremendous asset to the nation, as well as being able to service all our citizens. And we are prepared for it. We've done our research. We're, you know, administratively, we're prepared and actually looking forward and hoping that the legislation goes through. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Attorney General's office, do you have any comments?
Yes, please. And I you know, these folks have wonderful points, and I've always tried very hard as your Attorney General not to seek to endorse or talk against any particular, you know, proposition. That's just not my responsibility. That's the council's job to vote these things in or reject them. But I do have great concerns with the timing. I understand, you know, increasing revenues due to post-McGirt needs, it's essential. And I understand the cost of exercising sovereignty is nothing less than brutal, just the cost of incarceration. But even now, we're issuing tags and we do not have a compact. So really what that means is that when a police officer, a state officer pulls someone over, they can't radio in and check on a tribal tag to determine its validity or ownership. So, and what we're starting to hear in our office is that state law enforcement has started to harass our citizens. I've had 3 of those calls myself that came to me, and it's individuals that were going through communities, and law enforcement told them, the next time you come through, you better have a state tag on your car. So that has started to happen. And I do want to point out the state of Oklahoma has filed 35 petitions for cert to the United States Supreme Court. They are desperately trying to undo McGirt. And there's really only 2 propositions that they even raise in their petitions. One is they're trying to limit McGirt by saying, well, it doesn't apply to non-Indians committing crimes upon Indians. And then the second proposition that they always fall back in, or the sole proposition in most of their cases, is that McGirt should be overruled, that they didn't know what they were consequences were going to be when the Supreme Court, you know, passed or ruled upon that case. And that here we go, they're going to argue the states are abusing or expanding McGirt. We're taking it into this parade of horribles and expanding civil outreach. And that's all the more reason for doing it. And folks, and the reason I'm kind of stuttering when I go through this is I've spent hundreds of hours since all these petitions started being filed, fighting against trying to convince the United States Supreme Court that there is no threat. And the only thing that the state of Oklahoma has been able to point to are hypotheticals. Well, the tribe might do this, or we saw a letter that this might happen. But if we take some steps affirmatively now, they're going to end up in those briefs. They're going to end up in those issues. If the court grants cert to hear the case, it's going to be beating me over the head with it while I'm trying to defend you all against undoing what we've managed to do. You know, certainly the state does refuse to compact with us, and there is a legal process that you can go through to challenge the state's refusal to compact, but this is simply not the time to do it. And I do want to point out there is a risk to your citizens, and even if you intend to have them sign some of a waiver, they're not going to understand what that waiver means. You're going to have someone that's outside of our jurisdiction, either in Oklahoma or some other state. They're going to get pulled over because that law enforcement agency is not going to recognize that tribal tag because they can't pull it up. Sometimes people have things in their car that they shouldn't. So this pretextual stop for pulling somebody over is going to turn into something much worse. And anytime you have a tag that I'll call bogus from the context of that state, they're going to impound the car. It's taxes due the state. So they're going to impound the driver's car. They're going to charge them tow fees, usually runs around $80. And then they're going to take it to an impound yard. And they're going to charge them about $45 a day. And that tribal citizen, if they can't get the money together to get their car out of impound, which means also pay the state taxes and bring it up, the impound company is going to take possession of that vehicle. They're going to be able to get a title from a state, whatever state that is, and they suddenly own that car. So there is a great deal at risk for our citizens. And as I say, it's not just those people who are committing crimes that are going to get pulled over, but it's going to be elderly citizens, and that this is going to happen to. And that our illustrious governor is behind a lot of this with regard to communities starting to pull over our citizens and threaten them with regard to tribal tags. And no, they have not challenged it in the past, but we haven't had this governor in the past either. And he is as hell-bent as any human that has ever lived in creating some retribution against the citizens of this nation. So, I do worry about all of these things. Truthfully, the only ways anybody could really do this, in my opinion, and not get in trouble is to go ahead and buy that state tag, but also buy our tribal tag, put our tribal tag on your car, put the state tag, in the window or keep it in the trunk if you get pulled over so you can show you've complied and you pay the state taxes. But no one's going to really want to do that because then they'll be paying the taxes twice to the state and also to the tribe. And I understand, all three of the folks that spoke before me, that it's not a far-fetched idea. It is something that does, though, however, expose individuals to risk. And my goodness, folks, this is just from my standpoint, and the person who does all of your civil litigation, it's all I do in our office is this is a horrible time to attempt to do this. So with that, I'll shut up unless you have any questions, but I have those concerns. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Do we have any comments, questions from the committee?
Chairman, this is Representative Scott.
Yes, sir, please.
Thank you. I appreciate all of the dialogue that was given in regards to this, but in regards to Mr. Haskins's comments, I think our people, our citizens and other tribal citizens of other nations have been discriminated way before pre-McGirt with the tribal tags in regards to that, because those situations happened before McGirt and they're going to continue after McGirt. I understand that there is probably some liability for our citizens, and I don't want to put anyone at jeopardy either. However, as council, we receive these calls and we receive these recommendations from our citizens that we try to incorporate and campaign on every time there's an election. So I feel like this is something that has tried to help nullify those citizens' concerns. And I don't know the right timing. I don't know that any of us know the right timing, but I think it's something that we receive calls as to why the nation's not flexing their sovereignty and not pursuing these issues that pertain to our citizens. And so I'll just leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any more comments from the committee? Questions? Comments, questions from the council representatives online?
Chairman, James Jennings.
Yes, Mr. Jennings.
Thank you, sir. On page 9 and under D, number 5, veterans widows, the special fee. I sponsored that legislation for the widows of the veterans to maintain those tags, but it doesn't say what the fee is. It says a special fee. Can anyone tell me what that would be?
Yes, the fee has not changed. We only changed the language to follow suit with the state recognition of the widows of the veterans. So, and it is $12, I think is what it is. It's very, very minimal. And that's the only reason that that language is in there.
It's minimal, but what is it?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's $15.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chairman.
You're welcome. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Representative Jennings. Any more comments, questions? Council representatives? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Chairman,
Yes.
we might need an amendment for that because it's not listed.
The actual $15?
Yes.
Okay.
We do that administratively in the office so that if any time, I mean, and if we have to come back and change pricing as we move along, we'll have to be coming back to the council for amendments. So, I mean, if you would like for us to put the $15 in there, that's fine, but it's already in there. I guess we should have put the amount. It wasn't in the prior, it's not in the code now, and all we did was change the language. So the $15 is what's administratively assessed in the office.
April, do we need to put that in there? If we can, a sponsor can make a motion to add.
Do you want that as amendment or do you?
I don't know. I mean, all the rest, 1 through 3 have amounts. So
Yes, please. Can we make that amendment?
I think in order to be consistent.
Chairman, I make that motion to add $15 on page 6 on the veterans line, please, sir.
Yes, sir. Representative Travis Scott makes a motion to add the amendment to add the $15 to the fee list. We'll have a second.
Robert Huff seconds.
Seconded by Representative Robert Huff. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Travis Scott,
Yes.
Patrick Freeman,
Yes.
Robert Huff,
Yes.
Adam Jones.
Yes.
Chairman, you got 4 in favor and 0 against.
4 in favor, 0 against. The amendment to add $15 to the fee list passes. Back to the main motion. Any more discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Travis Scott,
Yes.
Patrick Freeman,
Yes.
Robert Huff,
Yes.
Adam Jones.
Yes.
Chairman, you got 4 in favor and 0 against.
4 in favor, 0 against. NCA 21-123 passes. Next item on the agenda, NCA 21-124, a law of the Muskogee Creek Nation authorizing the expenditure of the 2021 Native American Agricultural Fund grant for the benefit of the Muskogee Loan Fund. Sponsor is Representative Adam Jones III.
Motion to pass.
Representative Adam Jones makes a motion for due pass.
Robert Huff seconds.
Seconded by Representative Robert Huff. Discussion.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to give some time to Chris Copeland.
Chris Coburn.
Yes, sir. Yes, thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Council and others that are on the call. We've got a great relationship with the Native American Ag Foundation. They were formed when the Keeps Eagle was wound down as a federal spend down fund, and this is going to be, it's flexible money, but a big part of it's going to be for continuing to do agribusiness loans. We did approach them with a staffing concern. So in the current configuration, there's money so that we can split the duties of a loan officer that's doing small business, consumer, and ag, and create a new position. And unless, if by chance I find another funding mechanism for that position, I can go back to them and have it all converted to loan capital. But right now, as it stands, it's partially loan capital, partially funding a new staff member, a new loan officer. that will be focused on ag and consumer.
Outstanding. Thank you, sir. Any questions from the committee? Questions from the representatives online? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Adam Jones,
Yes.
Travis Scott,
Yes.
Patrick Freeman,
Yes.
Robert Huff.
Yes.
Chairman, you got 4 in favor and 0 against.
4 in favor, 0 against. NCA 21-124 passes.
Next, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome, Christopher. Next item on the agenda, NCA 21-125, a law of the Muskogee Creek Nation amending NCA 21-104, a law of the Muskogee Creek Nation approving a continuing budget ordinance and providing for appropriations and authorization for expenditures for FY 2022 as amended by NCA 21-108. The sponsor is Representative Robert Huff.
Motion to approve the substitute.
Representative Robert Huff makes a motion to approve substitute.
Second.
Seconded by Representative Travis Scott. Discussion.
I'll give Chief some time.
Yes, sir. Chief Hill.
Thank you, Chairman. Just made some amendments on C 4 and 5, Murrow Indian School Home, be funded at 100%, and debt services shall be at 100%, and also under E and F. Now I don't substitute with me, so I don't know what that is, but Light Police Department is 100%, and also Tax Commission. And as you heard, Mary had mentioned, their service is going to increase if the previous legislation passed. But see the substitute bill, so I don't know, Representative Huff, if you have that.
Yes. The other amendment was G, where the National Council is going to be funded 100%.
And
Representative Huff also C3. We also did 100% for the church and ceremonial ground monies for the grants at 100%.
That is correct.
All right, Mado. Any more discussion? Comments, questions from the committee, council representatives online? Thank you, everyone. Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Robert Huff,
Yes.
Adam Jones,
Yes.
Travis Scott,
Yes.
Patrick Freeman.
Yes.
Chairman, you got 4 in favor and 0 against.
4 in favor, 0 against. NCA 21-125 passes. Next item on the agenda, NCA 21-126, a law of the Muskogee Creek Nation authorizing an appropriation to the Muskogee Creek Nation Light Horse Police Department for jail fees. Sponsor is Representative Robert Huff.
Motion to approve.
Representative Robert Huff makes a motion for due pass.
Second.
Seconded by Representative Travis Scott. Discussion.
Yeah, Chairman, give Chief some time, please.
Yes, sir. Chief Hill.
I think you meant Daniel or Richard, but again, is that who you meant?
Well, I mean, you might, because I didn't see Richard on here. Is he here?
Is he still on that slow laptop, probably?
Chief, this is Deputy Chief Wind. I'll give him my phone again, and that way you can speak with him.
Outstanding. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Semper Fi, and happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Chief.
All right.
Go ahead, Chief. Try it again.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Good.
Yes, the jail fees that we have posted there are for David L. Moss of Muskogee County, Creek County, Wagner, and I believe we have Muskogee, if I'm not mistaken, as well. So it's a compilation of all the jails that we have, correctional facilities that we're utilizing at this time.
Okay. All right, sir. Do we have any questions from the committee? Questions, comments, representatives online? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Robert Huff,
Yes.
Adam Jones,
Yes.
Travis Scott,
Yes.
Patrick Freeman.
Yes.
Chairman, you got 4 in favor and 0 against.
4 in favor, 0 against. NCA 21-126 passes.
Funding source.
NCA,
Chairman.
Clay, could we please get a funding source, sir? Mr. Darnell.
Yes, sir. Funding's available for this NCA from the gaming fund.
Gaming fund. Thank you so much, sir. Funding source is the gaming fund. Next item on the agenda, NCA 21-127, a law of the Muskogee Creek Nation authorizing the expenditure of funds from the United States Bureau of Justice Assistance for the fiscal year 2022 Special Assistance United States Attorney Program Fund grant to the Muskogee Creek Nation Department of Justice. Sponsor is Representative Robert Huff.
Motion to pass.
Representative Robert Huff makes a motion for due pass.
Second, Chairman.
Seconded by Representative Travis Scott. Discussion.
Yes, Chairman, we get some time for Kyle, please.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. This goes back to the very first piece of legislation that we had tonight, TR 21153. This is the federal funding, the grant that's being given to us to pay for a SASA, a Special Assistant United States Attorney for Major Crimes Act cases to prosecute on behalf of the tribe. So this is your funding source that I discussed, in which it doesn't cost the tribe any money. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Any more discussion from the committee? Questions? Questions, comments from the legislators online? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Robert Huff,
Yes.
Adam Jones,
Yes.
Travis Scott,
Yes.
Patrick Freeman.
Yes.
Chairman, you got 4 in favor and 0 against.
4 in favor, 0 against. NCA 21-127 passes. Next item on the agenda is referred legislation. We do not have any referred legislation. Am I correct, April?
Yeah.
Super. On to other business. Is there any other business, committee?
Yes. Chair, I'd like to add 2 pieces of legislation to the agenda.
Yes, Representative Jones.
I'd like to add TR 21-158,
Okay.
NCA 21-133 to the agenda.
Okay.
Chairman,
Yes, Representative Huff.
I'd like to add also TR 21-159.
Yes, sir. TR 21-159. Any others, committee? All right. Do one of you just want to make a motion to add the 3 and I can read the numbers off?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
I guess we could do separate. Yeah, that way we don't have to do separate.
Yeah,
motions.
and add 21-21-59. TR 21-159.
Okay, Representative Adam Jones make a motion to add TR 21-158, TR 21-159, and NCA 21-133.
That's correct.
Robert Huff seconds.
Seconded by Representative Robert Huff. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Adam Jones,
Yes.
Travis Scott,
Yes.
Patrick Freeman,
Yes.
Robert Huff.
Yes.
Chairman, you got 4 in favor and 0 against.
4 in favor, 0 against. We'll add the 3 bills to the agenda, numerical order. Next item on the agenda, TR 21-158, a tribal resolution of the Muskogee Creek Nation to uphold and enforce the official name and seal of the Muskogee Creek Nation. Sponsors Representative Adam Jones III.
Motion do pass.
Representative Adam Jones makes a motion for due pass. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Representative Travis Scott. Discussion. Representative Jones.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, council members, everybody on the line. This right here is to keep us, to me, with the Constitution, and any name keeps it with our legality and clear that no other name other than Muskogee Creek Nation. We stand by that. So if we're going to use any type of a rebranding or anything like that, is totally for advertisement and promotion, but not anything with our legal name. One of the things I've seen just lately was the OPG had Muskogee Nation, as a official document, and any type of official documents need to say Muskogee Creek Nation as stated by the Constitution. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any comments, questions from the committee? Comments, questions from representatives online? Hearing none, roll call vote. Yes, who is that?
This Representative Scott.
Yes, Representative Scott.
Could I ask Mr. Haskins his opinion on this legislation, please?
Yes, sir. Kyle, are you still on?
Yes, sir, I still am.
All right.
I wish that this issue would have been brought to the AG's office so that we would have had the opportunity to really sit down and research the issue and come to a formal opinion, and, not an advisory opinion. I really only found out about this about 2 hours before it was time for me to go home. I looked very quickly at Article 5, the powers of the principal chief, then Article 6, Section 7C, with regard to the powers of the National Council. I really am comfortable just kind of voicing an opinion, because that's all this would be. I would like the opportunity for, a formal request to be made and then a formal opinion be made. But what I can comment about is we are seeing in the contracts that are coming to us, and we're getting calls from people saying, well, what do we call you now? And this is from law enforcement agencies. This is coming up with regard to cross-dep agreements. It's coming up with regard to jail agreements. So it's provided some confusion, and there's multiple issues that are involved. One, whether the National Council has the authority to preclude the chief from doing this. Second issue is whether the chief has the authority to have done what has been done. And then I guess there's a third layer of that, which is if the chief has the authority, where are those limits? Where does it stop? What does rebranding mean? But we do have to worry about, anytime I look at anything, it's from the context of a lawyer's lens. If someone signs a document and it says Muskogee Nation, because Muskogee Nation is not a registered legal entity. If someone signs a document like that, I don't know that I can really assure that individual that they may not have subjected themselves to some personal liability, because Muskogee Nation as an entity does not legally exist. So I worry about that. It's my job to worry about all of you. That's what I do. So, that would be my only comment to you, is I really wish we'd been involved in this before and had a chance to kind of look at it and come up with a full opinion. I would have to assume Zeke has probably been consulted on the council side. I would probably have to assume then, the attorneys have been consulted on the chief's side. But it's just an impossibility for me to give you all a legal opinion on something I just simply have not had a chance to research.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Zeke Fletcher, you have a comment, sir?
The only comment I would make, it would be specifically with regard to the National Council's ability to consider and pass this law. I'm going to leave the constitutional matters to the Attorney General's office and stay in my lane, so to speak. But as far as the council's ability to consider and pass this law, I do think they have this authority. They're not attempting to stray away from the language of the Constitution in that regard. So that's kind of my take. And unfortunately, that's a very lawyer-focused comment, but that's my take on it.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Any other comments, questions from the committee?
Chairman?
Yes.
I'd
Yes,
like to make a
Representative.
motion. I'd like to make a motion to postpone for 1 month for the AG to give us an opinion to us.
Okay, Representative Robert Huff has made a motion to postpone for 1 month.
Second.
Seconded by Representative, is that Travis Scott?
Chair. Pat Freeman.
By Pat Freeman. Any discussion? Representative Jones.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I think we could pass this tonight, and the Attorney General can give his opinion on the floor or this week. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Right now, we have a motion to postpone for 1 month by Representative Robert Huff, seconded by Representative Pat Freeman. No more discussion. Roll call vote, please.
Robert Huff,
Yes.
Adam Jones,
No.
Travis Scott,
Yes.
Patrick Freeman.
Yes.
Chairman, you got 3 in favor and 1 against.
3 in favor, 1 against. TR 21-158 has been postponed for 1 month. Next item on the agenda. TR 21-159, a tribal resolution of the Muskogee Creek Nation confirming the nomination of Lisa Otibaby Herbert to serve as the Chief Judge of the District Trial Court of the Muskogee Creek Nation. Sponsor is Representative Robert Huff.
Motion to pass.
Representative Robert Huff makes a motion for due pass.
Second.
Second.
Seconded by Representative Travis Scott. Discussion.
Chairman, I'd like to give Chief some time, and then Miss Lisa is on the line too, so.
Outstanding. Chief Hill.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman and Representative Huff. After further interviews that we had amongst all the candidates, we felt that Lisa Herbert had good qualifications in her resume. Hopefully you all had a chance to, the committee had a chance to review it. And I believe she's on the line if there's any questions you have from her. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Miss Lisa, I want to start off by saying my apologies for attempting your name, your last name initially. My apologies. So the floor is yours, Miss Lisa.
Well, thank you. I'll give you an easy way out. My name is Herbert. So how about Lisa Otibaby Herbert?
Yes, ma'am. Perfect. Thank you.
Might be easier. Thank you for letting me join you today. I am honored to be considered for this position, and I hope you have my resume, and I'm glad to field any questions. This is such an exciting time at Muskogee Creek Nation, and I would be thrilled and honored to be a part of this. This is some of the most important time in Indian country. Muskogee Creek Nation is leading that. And so thank you for your consideration.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Any comments, questions from the committee? Comments, questions from the representatives online? Great. Hearing none. Roll call vote, please.
Robert Huff,
Yes.
Adam Jones,
Yes.
Travis Scott,
Yes.
Patrick Freeman.
Yes.
Chairman, you got 4 in favor and 0 against.
4 in favor, 0 against. TR 21-159 passes.
Chairman.
Yes, ma'am.
Her interview for full council need to be pre-agenda on the 20th at 9 a.m.
Perfect. Lisa,
Thank
you will
you.
interview. Okay, you got that, the date and time. Super.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Next item on the agenda. NCA 21-133. A law of the Muskogee Creek Nation to amend Article 9 of the Constitution of the Muskogee Creek Nation, adding Section 2 entitled Constitutional Convention. Sponsor is Representative Adam Jones III.
Thank you, Chair. Motion to adopt.
Representative Adam Jones makes a motion for due pass.
Robert Huff seconds.
Seconded by Representative Robert Huff. Discussion.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, it's been past 10 years and there's some constitutional amendments that will need to be made. So this will ready that process within the next, hopefully by the next election, we'll have some amendments for that through the McGirt case and everything else that we're doing. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, sir. Any comments, questions from the committee?
Mr. Chairman, this is Kyle Haskins. May I be heard briefly?
Yes, Kyle.
I've managed to go through so many meetings and never having to open my mouth, and tonight's been my night. I do, you know, from a civil litigation standpoint, and I'm going to be intentionally vague. We have a citizenship issue that is in full litigation, and if we, you know, whatever we do, we're going to be judged by not only am I going to have to deal with it at a trial court level, but also those folks in DC that are looking to see what we're going to do or going to judge us whether you know, citizenship issues are addressed or not addressed. So again, as with, you know, the prior legislation that I expressed concerns about, it's not the act itself, it's just the timing gives me great concern. And with that, sir, I thank you.
Thank you, sir. Comments, questions from the committee?
Chair,
Yes.
make a motion to postpone for 1 month. And
Representative Adam, yes, yes, sir. Representative Adam Jones has made a motion to postpone for 1 month. Is there a second? Last call for a second. There is no second. That motion will receive no action. Back to the main item on the floor. Any more discussion? Council representatives online? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Adam Jones,
yes.
Travis Scott,
No.
Patrick Freeman,
No.
Robert Huff.
No.
Chairman, you got 1 in favor and 3 against.
1 in favor, 3 against. NCA 21-133 fails. Back to the agenda. Is there any other business? We have GOAB. GOAB, are you online?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me, Chairman Lowe?
I can, Chairman Ray. Just 1 second, Chairman
Yes,
Ray.
sir.
Committee, would we like to go into executive session for our reports, please?
Yes.
Motion to go into executive session.
Representative Patrick Freeman makes a motion to go into executive session. Seconded by, was that Robert Huff?
Yes.
Seconded by Representative Robert Huff. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. All right, we will be in executive session just shortly. April, let me know when you're ready to. We'll have all elected officials, cabinet. Chris Ray, who do you usually have? All right, we are out of executive session. Time is 8:07 p.m. Any other business? Committee, do we have any other business? Hearing none, announcements. Do we have any announcements? Committee, council representatives? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Representative Travis Scott. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Representative Robert Huff. Voice vote, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. All right, we stand adjourned at 8:08 p.m. Could I please ask Representative Robert Huff to say our benediction, please?
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. Lord, we thank you for bringing us together to make decisions for the tribe. Lord, pray this guide, direct us, and take us home safely wherever the people may travel as they have to tonight. We ask all this in Jesus Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. We are adjourned at 8:08 p.m. Hello, everyone, for being on the meeting. Have a great evening.